You've probably seen this image of the Dragon Quest VII script before. It's an excessively large script for an excessively large game. I think that for most games there's no such thing as too large. If you buy a 40-hour game and a 100-hour game that's only good for the first 40 hours, you get the same value. I know people feel a strong compulsion to play the Act 3s, but especially when it's not a story that would be missing its climax if you stopped halfway through, I think being overly long is okay. You can just stop playing and not finish the game. In that sense, on paper, I'm okay with Dragon Quest VII's length, especially since the side stories are all entirely independent of each other. Or are they? I have played this game. Only once, but in terms of time spent playing it, I played it more than most games. And that's despite me playing the shortened 3DS version. I also played the beginning on PlayStation just to have that experience, but it didn't get very far. I played it, but I don't remember much of the story, only a few specific fragments, but in most cases I don't even remember how I got there. And most of your time in this game is spent reading text, or fighting random battles. Probably even more in the 3DS version than in the original, since despite the encounters not being random, they are borderline impossible to avoid and much more frequent. But that's besides the point. It's impossible to write a script that long and have it be 100% coherent without any text that feels like filler. But there has to have been a lot of thought behind it. So why do I never hear people discuss specific story beats? I see that with most of the other games. And it's not only because Dragon Quest VII is independent from the first two trilogies, at least that's what I assume. The way I played it the last time was simply playing it and moving on to the next scenario after each that I completed. This time I want to stop after each area and really think about what all of that was. My videos so far have been me discussing what I already know about these games. These will be a learning experience for me as well. Dragon Quest stories usually don't limit themselves to a single idea, so I'm very excited to see what I can find. So a few notes on the specifics. I might sometimes show manga footage, but this isn't about the manga, I just like how it looks. I'm gonna be referring to the hero as you, cause that's the way most people are going to see the silent protagonist. I'm only looking at the English localization, specifically from the 3DS version. Translations and especially localizations can never convey the original vision one-to-one. Not even the original text can do so, no medium short of beaming the thoughts into your brain can. But the localization is even farther away from Hori's vision. I don't speak Japanese though, so while it would be interesting to discuss the implications of the Japanese title and whatever changes were made in the localization, I'm simply not the most suited person to make that video. So I won't, and this is only about the English text. I also won't mention gameplay unless it either clearly ties into the story or there's a really noticeable disconnect. In my attempt to not spend too much time quoting the game, I'm going to put relevant dialogue boxes in the background footage. So whenever I make a claim and don't give any examples, the examples are probably in the background. For some videos it will be convenient to start with a short summary like real short, for others I will recap it as I go along. Either way, I hope it will never be longer than 1 minute and you will get a reminder of what the story was about. I should be able to give more than enough extra context with my background footage. Also, I do want to analyze everything in order of appearance. Some stories aren't based on the area, for example Kiefer, and if there's something thematically tying into whatever came before, that wouldn't make sense if the structure wasn't chronological. So my call for now is to do everything in order of appearance with a small recap when there's a revisit. But if that changes along the 100-hour journey I'm about to embark on, I'll let you know. For that reason, I will mention the central narrative when it comes up, and once we get near the end, I'll do my best to tie it all together. It would be much more coherent to make a video discussing the entire story implications after playing the whole game again. But that would be too big to render and I can just retroactively make another video if there's something I missed. So now I want to go on an unwarranted rant about how I fucking hate YouTube pseudo-intellectuals. I want to caution you that it's easy to entirely turn off your brain and just nod along to whatever you see and hear, as long as it's neatly decorated with big words. Trying to use said big words without making a coherent point is the death of creative writing. And have you ever seen those video essays with the title being like Dragon Quest VII is the one true panpsychic allegory? Huh? What? That doesn't make... But you decide to watch it anyways because you figure they must have a deeper understanding of the source material, so you watch the video and they're just recapping the story, making the most basic things sound like groundbreaking discoveries. But hey, they gotta do that as setup, so either way you watch through it, just waiting for them to finally make a point. But then, instead, they just finish recapping and say, and that's how Dragon Quest VII is the one true panpsychic allegory. Like, huh? You missed the only important step. That's not how literary analysis works. To most of you, it probably sounds like I'm making up a boogeyman to get mad about, but if you know, you know. The point I'm trying to make is that I really am going to do my best to not only recap the game story, but make some actual points. I hope I can manage to do at least this much. Maybe I'll even manage to not come across as super pretentious. On the other hand, if I don't discover anything worth talking about, the final part will be titled Dragon Quest VII is a nihilist parable. At least I can breathe a sigh of relief, as no matter how badly I mess up, at least it's not going to be on the same level of terrible as game journalism.